Hello, and welcome to the Muses Lab, your destination for all things spiritual, sensual, and pleasurable. Here I explore the nuances of our human experience, connect with practitioners to support your glow up, and share my lessons and blessings as perspective to move you closer to alignment and self-empowerment. I invite you to join me on this adventure of discovery, and hope what you receive inspires you to become the muse of your life's journey. So without further ado, let's explore. Hello, and welcome to the Muses Lab podcast. It's your girl, Siobhan L., and I probably should have been having this conversation, or at least talking about this subject for some time. And I think I've avoided it. I'm going to be very transparent with myself. I think I've avoided it because I didn't want to go back and forth with people. I didn't want to go back and forth with people. I didn't want to get into arguments with folks. I didn't want to or feel like I had to explain or over-explain my perspective on this subject area. But I'm just keeping a buck. New age spirituality is fucking up your romantic relationships. It really is. This is inspired by a post that my girl Six of Sensate Wellness sent me. I cannot recall the screen name, the IG handle of the person whose reel she sent me, but it was along the lines of you being in a romantic relationship with someone, and you are the person that's evolving, and the person that you are in the relationship with is not evolving. And words like soulmate, soul contract, twin flame, all of those things, all of those terminologies were utilized in the video. But it was simply that I thought you said, like, this is the conversation with spirit. I thought you said this was my soulmate, but this person isn't evolving. And essentially it's like, yeah, this was your soulmate. This was aligned or divine, I shouldn't say, because aligned was never used in the video. Like, this was divine, but this person used their free will to not evolve, right? And now, because of that, because of this free will that this particular person used, or this romantic partner has used, you are now having this traumatic experience because you are in this space of evolution and growth while your significant other refuses to grow along with you. Like, this is not two people moving in parallel or congruently with one another. This is one is kind of like falling behind the wayside. And as you keep advancing forward, they're either stagnant or falling behind. And now this is a visceral experience because you are frustrated that this person is either refusing or just not evolving along with you. And it's like, well, now what do I do? Do I pull all my energy into bringing this person where I am, which is a lot of heavy lifting, or do I choose myself, right? And what activated me in that video is the soul contract part, the traumatic experience part. And of course, I'm nosy, so I always go into the comments and I see the comments saying like, oh my God, this is the person I married. I've been with this person for 50, 11, some odd years, so on and so forth. And what continues to bother me is that people with this particular perspective are constantly using phrases like soul ties and twin flames. Oh, this is my twin flame. What the fuck is that? Like, I know what New Age spirituality says with regards to twin flames. Like, I know what it says, but like, why would you want to acknowledge that someone is your karmic, this one person is your karmic lesson, and this twin flame, air quotes, has come into your life to teach you. This is so visceral. Like, why would y'all want this in your life? This person has descended down on earth, or before you descended down on earth, you and this person made some type of agreement that they were going to come down at a specific point in your time, in a moment that matter, in a moment that matters in the timeline, and teach you or have you experience these karmic lessons so you what can evolve. This one person is the conduit of your karmic lesson. Like, you gotta be shitting me. And y'all believe this shit. And I'm confused. I'm confused as to why you would want to perpetuate such violent interactions with someone who you claim to love. Like, that does not make any sense. Let's start with the fact that every human interaction is a karmic lesson. We understand karmic lessons, or how I understand karmic lessons to be. Let me speak for myself. How I understand karmic lessons to be is that these are lessons that are geared to help you grow and evolve as a person. You may be clearing out debts. You may be reconciling things from your past in the timeline. This may include ancestral things or parts of yourself in the past that this is a point in time that you need to solve or resolve, right? So that is how I interpret karmic lessons. Some new age spiritual guru will be like, that's not how I see it. Whatever. That is how I interpret karmic lessons, right? So with that definition in mind, that means every human interaction that you have is a karmic lesson, because every human interaction that you have is some type of moment in time, some type of lesson, if you will, where you are learning something about yourself, whether it is your intolerables, whether it's you having to speak your voice, whether it's you knowing how to be a better strategist, whether it's you understanding how people are master manipulators, whether it's you taking some tips or strategies from other people that you can apply to yourself. There's always a lesson in the type of interactions that you have with people, interpersonal interactions that you have with people, whether they are physical or whether you are having these interactions online. But there is always some lesson about yourself that you are going to learn, because the human experience operates as a mirror. We mirror people, whether we see ourselves in other people or whether other people see themselves in us. There's always something that is going to come up and unearth when we are having human interaction. So again, for me, that's where karmic lessons are cyclical, or not cyclical, continuous. That's where karmic lessons are continuous, because there are always spaces for you to grow, learn, and evolve, right? So for me, why would anyone assume that this one person that you have some form of romantic interest or intimate interest in would be the person that would incite one version or one phase of karmic lessons? So it's like, are y'all saying y'all have multiple twin flame? Is that what we're saying? That there are a series of people that are going to come into your life that are going to activate certain points in your life where you just have to solve them, or they're mirroring themselves, mirroring you back to yourself. Like, what? Even even as I try to unpack it so I can make it make sense, it don't make no sense, right? So there's this whole twin flame thing. If you have been listening to this podcast for however long, then you've heard me say I do not believe soul ties exist, because why would your beautiful soul knot itself to another soul and then say that, oh, we've descended down on earth to to solve what? What we finna solve? What is the goal here? That our souls are tied together. Like, okay, so if our souls are tied together and we came down here, our souls came down here with a purpose to either find each other, work with one another in some way, or whatever the purpose is. Once that purpose is fulfilled, now what? We untie. It's not clicking. It's just not. It's not clicking for me. Then there's, oh well, every time you sleep with somebody, there's a soul tie. That makes absolutely no sense. Sex is an energy exchange. It's always going to be an energy exchange. Sex is a portal. Sex is a frequency. Sex is an energy that you can use to actualize and manifest things, right? So because you have exchanged energy with someone, it's not a soul tie, but it is a cord of attachment, what I believe to be a cord of attachment, because we absorb energy from people on a daily basis. Your interactions, whether they are virtual or in person, you are absorbing energy on a consistent basis. That's why the spiritualist, the true spiritualist, will tell you to cleanse. Whether you are doing a spiritual bath, whether you're taking some Florida water and rubbing it or shaking it around your aura, whether you are taking a selenite wand and cleansing yourself, whether you are doing a smoke cleanse with a smudge stick. I'm not going to say sage because I'm tired of y'all motherfuckers using sage. But whether it's frankincense, juniper, rosemary, those type of cleansing herbs, basil, bay leaf, or it's an actual incense stick and you're using that to rub it around yourself, cleansing with a feather, whatever those tools are, you cleanse your energy so you can clear your energetic cache, refresh your aura, and then go on about your day so you are not carrying things that other people have tacked onto you, whether intentional or not, right? So those are cords of attachment. And that happens when you exchange energy with people, particularly when you engage in sexual activity, right? That doesn't mean your soul has tied to that person. If you think just because you bent it back and busted open that your soul is now latched on to another human being, you need to speak to somebody because that is not it. That's not it. I need you to go consult someone. You need to have a consultation if you think that is the case. And if that may be the case, maybe there is some conjure that is intertwined into that. There are ways to remove those things that are a bit heavier than just your simple aura cleansing, right? There are different type of baths and other type of works that can be done to remove whatever type of stickiness that has gotten onto your aura that is attaching itself, right? So we have twin flames, we have soul ties. Now, soulmates is something, for me, is something different, right? Do I believe soulmates exist? Yeah, I do believe that we are connected, kindred spirits to people here on earth. And those are people who we are meant to experience life with in a very intimate way. Do I believe that your soulmate has to be your romantic partner? Absolutely not. Your soulmate can be your friend, and that's just your person. Like when someone says that's my person, that's what I equate to a soulmate. So, do I believe soulmates exist? Yes. Do I believe that that a soulmate comes around only once? No. I believe multiple people can be your soulmate because then you have a soul family, right? So I feel like because we have all of these new age concepts, I don't know where these white people created this shit from. I don't know where these white people created this shit from and how black folks have adopted these crazy ass ideologies. But new age spirituality is fucking up your relationships because now you have things like spiritual bypassing and people utilizing twin flames as an excuse to stay in very toxic and violent relationships, which are doing you harm and causing you undue stress. And because you feel like there's a goal to achieve, or there is some type of solve, you then stay in places where you do not belong or stay in places where the welcome has been overstayed and the season has ended because you are hoping that something is going to level out at some point. It is not. One of the things that I wrote about some years ago that I need to refresh is a blog post, article, essay, however you want to categorize it, about relationship immortality. What I learned over time is that collectively, as human beings, we have challenges with expiration date. And a lot of that was centered around my own experience with expiration dates, being in situations longer than I needed to because I was holding on to the hope that this person would come to their senses and see that I was the ideal person for them, or they would show up for me the way that I desired for them to show up for me. And I did not want to face the reality that it was never going to happen. And thinking about the expiration of that relationship and all the time spent, effort put into trying to work something that wasn't malleable, that didn't have the longevity capacity, that didn't have the expansion, that wasn't clay, that was moldable and having the ability to be shaped into something and crafted into something beautiful. Embracing that and accepting that was so hard because I did not know how to grieve. And the thing with expiration dates is that it requires you to grieve. And a lot of us do not want to sit with grief because it is an acknowledgement, or it is equated to an acknowledgement of a failure. So that when expiration dates happen, people automatically assume that they have failed in maintaining a functioning relationship with a romantic significant other. And here's what I feel about that. I feel like we put too much pressure on ourselves to try to be perfect. And I know this is coming from someone who was a perfectionist and who was working through perfectionism, but perfectionism leads to procrastination. And when you try to be perfect, you procrastinate on things. Meaning, even in relationships, when you try to be perfect in a relationship, you procrastinate on getting what you want. Sit with that. You procrastinate on get what you want because you're trying to make things perfect. But the thing is, you're trying to make things perfect with the wrong person. When you are aligned, you don't have to make things perfect with the wrong person because perfection automatically shows up. And it's not the level of perfection that you think exists. It is just ideal to where you are and who you are in relationship to someone who is just in alignment with you, right? So because we are trying to be perfect in our relationships, we will ignore the fact that people have overstayed their welcome in our lives, and we will do everything to orchestrate forcing them in so many ways to adapt to our lives and whatever stories and narratives that we have conjured in our head. That also lets me know that when we do those things, we're afraid to be alone. A lot of us do not accept expiration dates because we are afraid of what's on the other side. And for some of us, it's nothing. At least that's what we tell ourselves, right? For those of us who still follow Christianity, whether you are Hoodoo and you incorporate Christian practices into your work, or you are a Christ conscious person, right? however you infuse Christianity into your work, the old adage is when God removes something, I'm saying they because I don't gender God. So when God removes something, they always have something on the other side. And there's a reason why God removes something, because what they have on the other side is greater than what you have in your hand. But we don't think about that in the moment because we're human, right? We're not thinking about the greatness that God has on the other side in the midst of the removal. All we're thinking about in the present moment is that the thing that makes us feel good, the thing that is fulfilling whatever desires that we have at that time, the thing that feels joyous and alive, that feels passionate, that feels sensual, that feeling is going to leave something whole. Like there's going to be a hole there. There's going to be a void that needs to be filled. And we don't know how to fill that void because all we can think about is the feeling. And it's, oh my gosh, how do I reclaim that feeling? And what I'm learning is not about consciously trying to replicate the feeling. It's about simply holding on to the feeling and allowing that to carry you, to keep you, and to be a signpost so that when you are on your daily walk and you are experiencing life, that you recognize the things on your journey that are equivalent to the feeling that this particular person gave you, this particular thing gave you, so that when you come across it, you can acknowledge it and you can allow that experience to come to you so that you can live in that moment freely. You can be present in that moment. You can appreciate that moment, and then you can learn to give it gratitude and you can move on. I recognize that is not an easy concept for a lot of us. It wasn't an easy concept for me, and I'm still learning how to be appreciative for the moments that matter, for the experiences that I have with people. I wrote this series of essays called How to Hold Properly. And one of the rules I came up with was fucking with gratitude. The kink folk will talk to you about fucking with gratitude. They may not use that terminology in particular, but folks in the kink space will talk about fucking with gratitude because sex, interactive sex, or sensuality, pleasure, all those things are centered around community. Someone feeling great, someone being able to experience the height of their pleasure and their passion uninhibited, unrestricted, with rules and boundaries, but agility in those rules and boundaries that still allow for expansiveness, that still allows for a person to grow and evolve in their space of pleasure, that allows for exploration, that allows for play, right? So folks in the kink community, they understand what it feels like or what it means to fuck with gratitude. So for me to bring that concept outside of the kink space and into the lay folk, the vanilla folk, for me to bring that concept there, I know it's not resonant. I know it doesn't quite click for folk. But when you are appreciative of the sexual encounter that you have with someone, it makes you think about sex differently. It makes you think about how you are interacting with someone who is sharing their body with you. It even considers the intent in how these sexual arrangements unfold. Maybe it's more than just an orgasm. Maybe it is to deepen the connection with you and your significant other or your sexual partner. Maybe it is to learn things about your body. And these sexual arrangements allows that person or you to become closer and to better understand what erogenous zones are, or what makes you tick, what turns you on. And that allows the person or you to really go in for your partner and better understand their body so that you aren't necessarily doing the same thing over and over again. Once you understand where certain erogenous zones are, what they like, what turns them on, what makes them amorous, you can then build on that foundation. And again, it allows for exploration and play. So things like fucking with gratitude encompass all of those different things, right? But when you navigate your relationships with this crazy ass new age spirituality, you don't think that far. You don't think that far. These new age spirituality concepts are very surface. They don't allow for depth and breadth of relationships. They don't allow for nuance. They don't allow for a deep dive into really establishing a core relationship with someone that you are dating or you are trying to have some type of physical intimacy with that person. It doesn't allow for those things. It takes up a lot of time for you trying to figure out where you are in the timeline with soul ties, karmic lessons, twin flames, and whatever other terminology that is used to describe certain dynamics in relationships. These relationship dynamics are already crazy, particularly if we're talking about folks in the Black community. Relationship dynamics among straight persons in general. I've never dated anybody queer, so I can't speak on the queer experience, right? Despite the fact that I'm bisexual. I think it was, oh, who was it that said it? Miss Harlem Night on Threads. And they were doing their intro post or another refresh post on Threads. And they listed specific things about who they are. And one of them was pansexual. And they put in parentheses, hearts, not parts. And my gosh, that liberated me because I am bisexual and hearts, not parts. That resonated with me so much. So that's as far as the queer experience that I got, right? So I can only speak on the straight experience because I've been moving as a straight girl this whole time. So the relationship dynamics with straight folks is very wild. Navigating romantic relationships with straight men is Olympics that I didn't anticipate having to navigate at this point in the timeline, especially at this age. I was having this conversation with my therapist, and I talked about my fear in dating because being self-aware is already posing a challenge for me. It's probably why I can't get no consistent dick because self-awareness is just, it's really fucking me up right now. But what I said is that dating is a challenge because men have a tendency, and this is very general, men have a tendency to go out of their way to orchestrate and manipulate situations so that it is always working in their favor and always to the detriment of a woman's emotions, mental capacity, physical capacity. And now they're like, oh, well, this chick is crazy. What did you do? What false narratives did you perpetuate in this dynamic that made her think that this was one way, but it never was? And when she finally realized that you've been playing in her face this whole time and you've been fucking with her emotions, she done lost her. She crashing out. She's crashing out. She tweaking. And now she's a crazy bitch. Is she? Is she a crazy bitch? Or are you just a narcissistic asshole? I mean, I'm leaning towards narcissistic asshole. And this isn't to say that all men are like this. I'm fully aware that there are genuinely good men out here who are really trying to have and establish quality relationships with other women, who wants to build a life, who wants a life partner, who wants to, whether it's have that one person or have their polycule of people who are their safe space that they have their interactions with. I am aware that there are men who are looking for their person or persons, right? The problem is, I don't know where those motherfuckers are. And all I'm getting is these niggas who ain't shit. And I am desperately trying to get to the side of the pool where there is no pee. But for some reason, I keep hitting the corner that has pee, and it's really daunting at this point. So, on top of the very disjointed relationship dynamics that straight people in particular are navigating, now y'all want to add on a layer of new spirituality terminology as a way to define how these relationships unfold or characterize, identify how these relationships are, what these relationships are. It's a no-win situation. Like, it's destined to fail. And I really want us to take a step back and ask ourselves, why do I have to quantify or qualify, I should say? Why do I have to qualify this particular relationship as this specific item description in order for me to validate the experience that I'm having with this person? Why do I have to say, oh, this is a twin flame? That's why I'm experiencing this. Because now these terminologies become excuses as to why someone is interacting with you in this very visceral way. And it is a disservice to you. It is a disservice to your intelligence. It is a disservice to your heart. It is abusive to your heart. And it sets a precedent. It sets a precedent with your body that relationships must look like this. And this is what love looks like. And until I find my soulmate, I am just going to cycle through all these men who are my twin flame because they are my karmic lesson. But I really want you to take a step back and ask yourself, what the fuck did you learn? And if you actually learned something, did you apply it? Because if you have not applied what you learned, these air quotes karmic lessons, which essentially are ruled by Saturn, are going to continuously kick your ass And you don't even have to be in a Saturn return for that. You say you want to have karmic lessons, that these karmic lessons in your romantic relationships are going to be the things that allow you to evolve. So how I see that, how I interpret that, is that you are inviting Saturn to park its ass in your atmosphere and just feed you lessons back to back to back to back. And then because you aren't cognizant of the fact that you have invited Saturn to be a prominent figure in your romantic relationships, it is completely lost on you that you are constantly in a loop of learning things, of getting spiritually beat up because you invited Saturn into your space of romance. I don't think anybody's paid attention to that. I don't think that clicked for anybody. We have to be very careful about how we are using these new age spirituality terminologies as it pertains to our romantic relationships, and really peel back the layers of what we are inviting into our atmosphere. What are we communicating to the universe? What are we saying to the universe? My bestie, Kimmy Michelle, used to say to me, you know why you're not getting what you want? It's because you keep confusing the universe. You'll say, I want this or I desire this, but in the back of your head, it is on the opposite end of the spectrum, or your fear of it coming to fruition is allowing it to stay stagnant or not to blossom at all. So when you assert that you and this person, whoever you are, in a romantic interaction with, are a twin flame, then that signals to the universe that you just want to burn in fucking hell. And y'all want to be twin flames? Sure, I'm going to inflame you, and everything you experience with this person is going to be inflammatory. It's going to feel like hell because that is the energy that you invited into your romantic interaction with this person. And I don't think anybody is really paying attention to that. You want to say that this person is a soul tie. Maybe the universe actually ties your soul to someone. Now what? Now it's almost as if you're destined to follow this person to whatever end of earth, proverbial end of earth, is for them. And what does that mean about you doing the goals that your soul set out to accomplish? Because now it's knotted to this person. Do you think that because you two have a soul tie or a knot with your souls, that there's some string that's long enough for you to go in opposite directions? That's not what that means. So I think we really have to be careful with how we are utilizing this terminology and how we are applying it to our relationships, because we are indirectly manifesting things that we actually don't want by utilizing this new age spirituality, new age spiritual terminology, right? It's one of the reasons why I divested from love languages. When the Jade T. Perry explained how love languages was some evangelical framework created by this evangelical pastor named Dr. Gary Chapman, who, with no research, just off the top of his head, maybe he said the Lord downloaded it to him. He created this framework as a way to counsel Christian couples, essentially. And the challenge is, has a heteronormative lens, but not just a heteronormative lens. It's centered around gender roles as well. So the love languages aren't for men and women in particular to reciprocate to one another. They're actually for the woman to reciprocate to the man. So when you think about the origins of things like a love language, it changes how you view the way you communicate with your potential partner. And this isn't to say that there isn't a language that exists, because there is a signature language that you have with your partner that is unique to you, but it may not necessarily be a love language. And if that resonates with you and you would like to use that as a framework, cool. I have divested from love languages and I begin to use intimacy languages. I need to trademark that before one of y'all motherfuckers take that shit and act like you created it. But I have adopted intimacy language because, again, I believe that there is a signature frequency, a signature language that you have with your significant other that is specific to you, but it's not generalized. It is not something that is blanketed. And those things you develop over time, right? But you got to take the new age spirituality out of it. It's really fucking up y'all relationships. Applying these ideologies and these terminologies is not actually helping you. It is bypassing the need to really have true conversations with those you are claiming to be in romantic relationships with, and applying these different ideologies as a way to dismiss the onus and the accountability on yourself and on others, because your significant other's toxic behavior can't just be dismissed as, oh, he's just my twin flame, or that's just him operating as my twin flame. Is it? Or is he just a narcissistic asshole? Is he a master manipulator? Is he a serial cheater? Is he playing in your face? Is he taking advantage of your emotional capacity? Are you allowing him to harm you emotionally because you are committed and dedicated to carrying out this twin flame narrative that you imposed upon yourself and convinced yourself has to exist in order for you to get to the other side of the love and relationship and the compassion and the pleasure and the sensuality and the sexuality that you desire? All you are doing is wasting time. So until all of you divest from these new age spiritual concepts, all you are going to do is waste time in spaces where you do not belong. So I hope this is a seed to consider. I hope that what I've shared sparks something. Will it incite change? I don't know. That's on you. But I think once we really start to peel back the layers on how these new age spiritual concepts are being applied to our romantic relationships, I think a lot of us with some common sense, because common sense ain't common, but a lot of us with some common sense may actually take a step back and begin to pivot from categorizing things as twin flames and soul ties and all those other things. Yeah? Cool. Thank you for tapping into the Muses Lad podcast. Until we meet again. Thank you for tapping into this week's adventure. As always, don't forget to share the wealth with your community. Be sure to subscribe on your favorite podcasting platform. And to deep dive into the Muses Lab, join my Substack community at siobhanl.substack.com. For more information, hop into the show notes for references and ways to connect. Meet you on our next adventure.